I'd love to be able to have it point out the mistakes that I made so I can learn from that. It really just tells you gives you a score and whether you passed or failed. But still, I love how the credentials are moving towards a much more hands-on, fingers on keyboard building stuff approach.
But you don't make mistakes, do you? I've never seen
I don't
you
know.
make
My
a single
code's perfect.
mistake.
Like I work directly in prod. Because it just works.
Yeah.
So. Welcome, everyone, to the Power Platform Boost podcast, your weekly source of news and updates from the world of the Power Platform and the Microsoft community, with your host, Nick Dolman and Ulrika Akabek.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, everybody.
And hi, Nick.
Hey, Ulrika.
We're in the same space.
Yep.
We can do this like we usually do.
Yeah, that's what we do across the table. We're outside. We're recording outside.
Oh, yeah. In the backyard. Very nice. All the different plants and a lot of sun and a bit of overcast. So
perfect.
So good. Spring is here.
Yeah. So I did some training last week in Resco, and I'm on my way to Dynamic Spines tomorrow. And while in Europe, we took this opportunity to record the podcast together. We're in the same time zone. So yeah, let's make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And what a couple of weeks it's been.
Holy cow.
Holy cow is right. So first off, a lot of community content and a lot of new announcements and news for Power Platform. And then on top of that, of course, Build with Book of News first, and then the Build conference with a ton of new announcements for Power Platform. So, and of course, for the whole Microsoft stack. And I saw it was kind of posted as a highlight of Build, and it was just a wrap with Copilot and AI being just pulled out, made into a huge clip. It's just so funny and so sad at the same time. All right. We'll try to. We can't say that we won't talk about Copilot, guys, because it's important and it's. Yeah, it is what it is.
Whether you like it or not like it, you got to learn to love it, because it is going to be the thing in the Power Platform for the next.
Yep. And we're embracing it. So here we go. Right. So what do you want to do? Because I watched most of the Build stuff. You were traveling and doing training, and you have a lot of other news and updates on the list. So what do you want to do? You want to go through the list as it is, and then take the Build stuff to the.
No, let's hit the Build highlights. Let's kick them off, because I mean, as much as I was traveling, I did actually pick up and read some of the news and saw a few of the bits and video bits of stuff that happened, and we can chat about that, because I think that's really the most pressing things that's happening right now. Of course, there is a lot of other reviews and other sites doing it, so we'll try to give you the highlights, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Yeah. And what better way to start than the Book of News? And BOOSTquest last week, we published a bit early to get you all ramped up on the Book of News before Build started. So our BOOSTquest, you can go and check that out on LinkedIn, and then Instagram is a kind of the 10 pictures that you cross the wheel. We do highlights for the Power Platform, especially in the Book of News. So anything that stood out to you? Do you want to do the Dataverse stuff first, or?
Well, just in general, I think the number one thing, of course, was Copilot Studio, which, of course, you used to know as PVA. And it got a facelift literally the first day of Build, which I think surprised a lot of people. I know that there were some people doing, I think even that happened in the labs that were at Build on site. I heard that the lab material was almost out of date. And this is the reality of our industry, right? We'll build code, we'll build content, we'll write a blog, and it's like literally out of date the next day. But still all good. I actually tried it this morning. I fired up the brand new Copilot, and I asked Copilot to build me a Copilot about powerlifting, because people know that that's something I do. I'm really into powerlifting, and I pointed it toward the International Powerlifting Federation site. I uploaded the technical rule book, and it actually worked pretty well. I went in to tell me the rules of how to do a squat, and it came back. And I said, tell me, when is the Commonwealth Championship? Oh, it's being held in October in South Africa. So it's actually, compiling all this information, and as opposed to me clicking around to try to find this. And no offense to the IPF, your website is a little hard to navigate sometimes. So thankfully now I have a Copilot that I can go and actually ask those questions for. And I did that in Copilot Studio, and it literally took me 5 minutes or less.
Yeah. That's so awesome. I mean, it's just now it's really getting somewhere, right? It's now we're beginning to see where we can actually go with this. And so Charles Lamont as well, and his keynote was talking about something we've kind of heard rumors about for a little while as well, the agents of Copilots, right? So now you won't only have this one Copilot that is in context of your maker app or your designer, but you'll be able to make a set of Copilots known as agents that will work on your behalf. And to me, this is kind of the love child between RPA, the Power Automate desktop robotics automation thing, where we've had the ability to make, we've called them flows or automations, workflows that can do stuff on the back without anyone monitoring or seeing. And a Copilot that has a prompt. You don't specify exactly what it's supposed to do, but you give it a task and you give it some guardrails. And then it's up to the Copilot to figure out how to get there. So it's also delegating that engineering of how to solve a problem. And I think that's really when it's becoming interesting. And then you may think, okay, that's all good and well, but I want to know what it's doing. AI and Copilots have been a bit of a black box up until this point. Now, what you can do is actually go on, look at all the runs that it's done and see exactly what it's been doing, the prompt that it's been using, the services that it's been using, the data it's been relying on, and you can learn and you can teach it how to go forward and to get better and to improve it. So we're kind of seeing all these different perspectives and different aspects of Copilot and AI that we've talked about for so long being kind of a rubbing us the wrong way or not working properly. Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, no, exciting. And the agents thing too, like imagine, I'm even thinking for my powerlifting thing, like, oh, the next iteration could be the agent. So should I go and, sign you up for the next competition, do that for me, those types of things, right? Like, yeah, it's very, very cool stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, and more stuff. You mentioned Power Automate desktop, and I did see that there's some Copilot features coming to that. I've not done a lot with Power Automate desktop, but I've also heard now with the read or saw that you can to do a Power Automate desktop flow. You can record your screen, which you could do before, but now you can explain what it is you're doing as if you're explaining that process to somebody else, the same way that you would sort of. Yeah, we have a train coming by or something. So, but yeah, so that looked pretty interesting. So I'm not sure if you checked that out or not, but that was something I saw from Build as well. That I thought that's pretty interesting. To use Power Automate Desktop a lot easier and a lot faster.
Yeah. No, I just saw a few announcements or a few demos with it. It is really taking it to the next level. And the idea is that there's still a lot of manual work being done around, and they use a cinema or a Canadian company as an example, Cineplex or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, you know it, right? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And there were a lot of good examples of manual work that people have to do when there's a party coming in and they want a private viewing, a private screening or something, and it was I think it was a couple of good examples in there of what you still have to do manually, and that very prone to error because it's always human error, right? And yeah, so many good things. Absolutely. So moving a bit closer to home, to Power Platform Admin Center, we have a new security hub. That's one thing. And also what caught my attention was the Entra ID PIM, Privilege Identity Management for Power Platform. Going in and being able to kind of uplift your security permissions to do, for instance, being able to create a Power Pages site, you need to be a system admin to be able to do that. And to kind of to turn that on when you need it. And then you don't have to have that privilege once you're done setting up your site, for instance. I hope that's what that means. I haven't dove into it really, but that's kind of what I read into it. That's what it's going to be.
That sounds awesome. Talk about like admin centers and stuff. I also saw sort of what we talked about the other week about managing your keeping track of flows. The automation center was something else that I saw as another tool to not only kind of monitor. I think this maybe ties into what you talked about the Copilots as well, about monitoring your flows and seeing what's happened and which ones have failed and everything. Just again, another more of that maintenance. And I know there's we talked about this about and maybe this ties into it as well, about the Dataverse table to manage the flows. This is where all this information, okay, what is this the same thing, or is this, from a different angle?
Yeah.
I also know that I was reminded last week by one of our listeners, I think Keith mentioned it, or trying to think, whoever it was who mentioned it, appreciate you for mentioning it. But there's another third-party tool. There was something, there's an XM Toolbox tool out there that monitors cloud flows as well. So there's lots of ways to do this, and it's just cool that there's more stuff coming to make sure your flows are running on time and correctly.
Yeah, definitely. And to get some insights into what's actually going on. And Power Pages has a new security workspace as well,
Yep.
More extensive security check. You're able to set domains for where your fonts, for instance, are coming from, or images or files. There's course settings and so many new capabilities in there that it really takes security for Power Pages to a next level. So that's something to look into. And of course, virtual tables for Salesforce and Oracle, and also BE Business Central is coming. So many exciting news for Power Pages as well.
Yeah, I saw that. I was excited because I can create web roles within the Design Studio now. It still takes me to the Power Pages management app, but at least that removes some friction there. So all good stuff.
Yeah, all moving in the same direction.
Yep.
And your baby, PowerFX, your new friend, you can now use PowerFX in Power Pages as well. It's also part of the Book of News. And we have a new thing called Gen AI search across table with Power Pages as well. So new search capabilities that will allow you to search across table from your Power Pages site to get some new AI infused search results.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, and also for Power Apps, I mean, as much as I love Power Pages and that's what I do day to day, I'm mostly excited about, in the Book of News, the news coming for Power Apps. Oh my God, people, we're now able to copy and paste YAML code snippets.
Yes.
It's so awesome. You'll be able to kind of look at the code. So no black box, again, opening up that box, giving you access to the YAML, making you able to check it into source code. And of course, also then the sync between environments and solutions, so that you can actually now have a sync between your GitHub repository and your Dataverse environments. Oh my Lord. And not to mention the co-authoring. And to be fair, co-authoring, we've had that in Driven Apps for so long. Now we have co-authoring in Power Pages, Visual Studio Editor as well, and in Power Apps. And it's one of those things where you go, oh, right, we haven't had that up until this point.
This is where the Power Pages team was ahead of the game, I think, on the Design Studio, because that was something we discovered. If you remember our Nordic Summit episode last fall, we were working on our presentation, which we do have to work on for European Power. Right. Remember that? Yeah, so nice. Let's put a pin in that. Yeah, note to self. But I remember, basically we went off in our two different directions, and I was working on it late at night, and then I saw your little icon poke up.
Yeah.
So now we can do this in Power Apps as well. So very, very, very cool stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. So many good stuff, so much good. And also in terms of build, just want to keep on going. Donna Soccer did an amazing job with the live stream from Build. I really enjoyed watching that. And she also went through the new Copilot Studio learning experience on Learn. So much learning material and learning content, very well organized and structured. So if you're getting ramped up on Copilots and Copilot Studio, that's really where you should go to start. And also there's a few challenges that comes along with Build. So I'm just looking in my notes here, because now we're kind of just all over the place. Microsoft Learn Challenge Build Edition. So every year with Build, there's a couple of certification challenges or learn challenges. And of course, this time it's all about Microsoft Copilot Studio. It's from May 21st until June 21st, and you register on your Learn site. And I looked, and now, because a part of certifications now are applied skills that we've talked about before, that Nick has been so good and went through a couple of those. There are actually 22 applied skills at this point. Yeah. And so it's kind of, and also we saw some news the other week. It's not in the show notes. I'll put the link in the show notes, but I saw some news. Malin Martin is shared on LinkedIn. There's changes coming to Dynamics 365 certifications. So if you have one of the BizApp certifications, or if you're looking into this, make sure to renew the certification that you already have, or maybe it's a good idea to wait and to see what that will be in the future. And I see that there's a shift where they're actually now adding the applied skills way of certifying people. Actually, hands-on have to solve problems or make solutions more and more.
So for those of you with eidetic memories that can memorize all the documentation and go and write the exams, well, now you have to memorize how to do stuff and actually do them with those applied skills. And I'm a huge fan of the applied skills because you have to go in, you have to build the actual tool or configure, and then it's pretty neat. It says if you've been successful or not. I'd love to be able to have it point out the mistakes that I made so I can learn from that. It really just tells you gives you a score and whether you passed or failed. But still, this is I love how the credentials are moving towards a much more hands-on, fingers on keyboard building stuff approach.
But you don't make mistakes, do you? I've never seen
I don't
you
know.
make
My
a single
code's perfect.
mistake.
Like I work directly in prod. Because it just works.
Yeah.
So.
And also on that note, I saw something about how to use the Power Platform well-architected documentation. It's for teams who want to improve their workloads and cross-cutting issues, how to deal with that. There's noise again.
There's the train again.
Yeah.
You might have to do some editing.
And it's for the whole team. It's for an architect, a developer, a maker, business stakeholder, authority to make decisions with the scope of a workload and guidance around that. Really extensive part of Microsoft Learn, but really something to look into if you're embarking on a big Power Platform project.
Yeah, this isn't your grandfather's sure step methodology. This is much better.
Oh yeah,
and much more streamlined and much more usable. And nothing against sure step. Well, actually, yeah, let's just leave it at that.
Yeah,
cool.
And also in terms of certifications, Cloud Skill Challenge for Build. 5 curated challenges, right? So this is what we talked about already. I have another link here, just confused me with my own notes.
This is the double dose of the Power Platform Boost podcast. Our news is so exciting, we'll tell it to you twice. But not only, so there was build and there's other things going on. The community was just as busy as ever, and I love you folks out there in the community building stuff. Again, I've got to get the name here right.
Are we done with the build stuff? Because I watched a couple of sessions that I want to highlight.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, keep going on build while I bring up this other thing. Sorry. We are so on top of it today.
Because there are 2 things that I want to highlight. First of all, Scott, Durow, and Marcell's session about Power Platform and how to accelerate full stack software development. It was a lot of fun to watch the session. Of course, Scott is a great presenter. He started off with a storytelling kind of style presentation. It really caught the audience attention. And then they showed a custom web app type stack with payment and integration to ERP. And it's just this huge technical stack type map and how you would go about using the Power Platform in an environment like that, in a setup like that. And the idea is not to replace everything with the Power Platform, but where it makes sense for you to do that, it may be a good idea. And they showed, for instance, how you could replace a custom web app in Azure with a Power Pages site, and how to work with that together. I think they also showed a bit of the copy and pasting of code in Power Apps. And to summarize the session, it's about showing that Power Platform is a development platform more than anything. It's not a low-code tool. It's not the citizen dev that's the most important thing. It is an enterprise-worthy, very robust, very secure platform for developers. And it should be in your toolbox. It should be in your skill set to use that to your advantage and to know what's in the box and the benefits that come with that. So it felt so good to have them kind of show that with real code as a technical demo, what that actually looks like. So if you're into that, if you agree with that or subscribe to that mindset, it's really a good session to look at the recording for. And also I wanted to highlight, did you have a session that you saw you wanted to talk about?
No, keep going.
Oh, okay. Because I also watched one of the keynotes with Scott Guthrie as the kind of keynote presenter with Sarah Bird and Eric Boyd and Seth Juarez. next generation AI for developers with Microsoft Cloud. And they went through a myriad of different things through the platform that really impressed me. So one is Seth Juarez. He showed off how to make he made a Copilot where you could upload a picture of your phone, and it will go into the system in the back and identify you as the user and identify the phone and the model and tell you how much you would have to pay to upgrade it, if you can have a new one, that kind of thing. But he didn't give it very strict instruction. He gave it a goal and an end goal in mind, and he had to choose the AI model you wanted to use. Now it's 1,667 different AI models for Copilot Studio now. So it's a lot of models to choose from. He showed us how to benchmark them and kind of compare and define the model that you need to use in terms of how fast it is, how accurate, how creative, those kind of things to benchmark and find your model. It also showed how to develop it in Copilot Studio and the new prompty file type. Did you see that? The new prompty file?
No.
No, it's a file that you can check into source control that has the prompt that you're using in Copilot
brilliant.
Studio. So now it's another thing where they're kind of it's unboxing that black box again. We said that 3 times. They're going to have a shot thing with it.
That's the title of our episode.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's unboxing, and it's so good. And then also how to deploy and reuse the solution in an effective way, and how to, enable and have that be a part of your ALM and your governance, of course. And it just impressed me how quick he was able to do this and showing the technical details that goes into something like that. And also, they describe it as a fireside chat with John Lambert and Julia Liuson. Just a great conversation without slides, without a technical demo. It just impressed me I'm a speaker myself. So whenever I see someone who can deliver a message on stage live without any slides, without any demo, anything, and the message came across so crystal clear. We as humans are still the weakest links in terms of security. It's our bad passwords. It's developers checking passwords into source control. It is the social engineer, the social hacking. It's still that dude on the phone being angry with the suitcase that passed through security on their way in because the girl at the security desk doesn't dare to ask questions. Those are the weakest points in terms of security. I just love that conversation that they had, and it really resonated with me. And I'm not a security kind of expert, or that's not my expertise at all. But that was very valuable. So I would encourage all of you to look at that session, and it's a good session where you get an overview of the Microsoft Cloud and where we're going in terms of AI.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, it really makes those types of things really make you think.
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely. So anything else from the community that caught your eye? I'm all build out now.
You're all build out?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. Build out. So remember last week we talked about I'm going to get his name. I'm going to try to get his name correct. Naveretnam. And I think we met Namasi. Actually, I believe Namasi, you were in Vancouver, right? So shout out to you. I do believe we've met. But he built a Power Pages site last week, or a couple weeks ago. We talked about his voice recognition within Power Pages. He comes up with this other one about shopping carts in Power Pages. Now, the idea of a shopping cart in Power Pages is not necessarily new. I know that some folks have kind of built, there's been blogs and things like that. ADX Studio way back in the day did have an e-commerce platform. There's a reason it doesn't exist anymore. Let's just leave it at that.
No, but still, liquid code that we use when we develop Power Pages, that comes from Shopify. Shopify is a big e-commerce platform. So, I mean, it's not that far-fetched.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is the thing. Like, to me, if I'm building an e-commerce site, or someone asked to build an e-commerce site, I would probably, instead of building it natively in Power Pages, I would sort of default to going to Shopify and using that as a platform. And I've looked into it. I've built a few things in Shopify a few years ago, and then I would begin to use like either a custom connector or something like that to tie that back into my Dataverse, because it comes right down to the right tool for the right job.
Yeah. Now, and not rebuilding that, not reinventing the wheel, right?
Right. But sometimes you need a project, especially like as Namasi was saying during COVID. he developed a simple shopping cart used during the pandemic. In case anybody missed the news, there was a pandemic a couple years ago, and everybody had a few extra time on their hands for stuff. But he built this whole shopping cart and actually put a blog post about it this past week about how he put it together, how using, again, Liquid, which of course does come from Shopify, but using like the HTML local storage for the shopping cart, so it persisted across different pages, the layouts and things he did. And this looks like in the searching, the entity list, the email notification. So I think he's going to have a multiple part series. So this was part one, and already the code and everything, like, even if you don't have to build a shopping cart, just some of these ideas and concepts you can take to some of your other Power Pages projects. So we're really looking forward, Namasi, to the rest of this series, and keep these blog posts coming. They're amazing. I absolutely love them.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, so good to see. And it's so fun to see new people doing Power Pages stuff as well. I really enjoy that. So I want to touch on a few small things as well. So now you can embed workflows in your Power BI reports with Power Automate Visual. It's now generally available. I think we mentioned it before, and it's how the users can trigger Power Automate flows from Power BI. So now you know that's generally available, and also you can now run Power Platform pipelines with service principals instead of personal accounts. So that's also something, because I know that in one of my projects, that is one of the, okay, good. We don't have to find a workaround now. That we can use that. And in the same kind of breath, our good friend Dave Wyatt, he also made a blog post where he has a bit of a critical discussion with himself, whether he likes Power Platform pipelines or not. And we've talked about the reason why you're giggling like a little girl is that we've talked about this before, where every other week I go back and forth between I like it and I don't like it. I like it and I don't like it. So this week I'm with David. You make so many valid points on the details of this that isn't working. So on the top level, on the overview, when you look at the pipelines today, it looks good. It seems like a good idea. The design is good. It's intuitive. It looks good. But then when you dive into the small little details, it kind of falls apart. It falls short. And I just want to quote him because I think this kind of sums it up. For me, Dave says, for me, this is a big missed opportunity. Microsoft have focused on making the deployment process simple rather than making the platform compliant. Delegated deployments are simply not fit for purpose and feels more like a way of ticking a box than actually delivering what people need. I know. Ooh, and I just love that you go out there, Dave, and just put it out there like it is. And we have seen this, and we talked. This is well known within the community as well. We see this a lot where we go, oh, that's checking a box. That's a high kind of high stakes customer having a bit of a requirement of some sorts, and now they just have to fix it for that big customer, and then they bring it into the platform and for everyone else, and it's kind of rough around the edges. It doesn't make sense for any other use cases. We see this a lot. So kudos to you for putting this out there. Thank you for being a very clear voice in this discussion, and last words not said on this subject. I will tell you, and we'll keep you posted on.
We'll probably talk about it next week on the opposite side of the.
Yep, then I'll be all for it again. But I just love the fact that we have an open community where it's allowed to speak your mind, to be in different minds about something. The platform's moving every day. There's something new. We are keeping on top of it, and we're bringing the discussion to you. And it speaks to a psychological safety aspect of our community as well. It is okay to be of different minds of something. You're allowed to speak your mind, and we will highlight both of those sides of that conversation, because I think it's so important to have both voices heard in this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how everything just evolves in general. Definitely. I mean, we don't always agree on stuff either sometimes. So.
And I know I don't always agree on stuff with Thomas Sandsør either. And I know that he doesn't listen to this podcast either. But he also made a blog post about the new model-driven app advanced settings has a new look. And you know what? My pulse rises a bit when I see someone writing, they're gonna now turn off the old the classic experience. Yeah, I know.
Good
And
luck.
yeah, I know. And I'm using the new experience. I rarely go into the old experience anymore, the classic experience anymore in Dynamics. But he makes a few good points about advanced find
Mhm.
will soon be gone. That means you will no longer be able to use advanced find. And that's a problem because there are limitations in the new view filtering experience that does not allow you to do what you could do in advanced find. And it baffles me that Microsoft will still make changes and go ahead and turn that off until they've kind of checked
They,
all the boxes
they
for this.
they haven't turned it off yet, and if they do, I would probably, I'll bet a beer with Microsoft PMs that you will turn it back on, because it is something that a lot of people will actually navigate to the data within their Dataverse system using advanced find. It is kind of a critical tool for that.
Yeah,
So
and this is where we differ because I don't think so. You are in your little bubble with your developer friends. You're a niche. It's 1% of the users knows that that even exists because it's such an old thing. 99% of all the users don't even know that that exists, and they think it's just a limitation in the product. Have no idea. Don't even Google it. Doesn't, yeah, moves on and thinks, oh, it can't do this. Done. Moving on. And also classical solution config will also be gone. And Thomas argues it's not so much that the new experience doesn't allow you to do the same thing as the classical solution experience did, but it is so much more cumbersome. The way that you could just expand the tables, for instance, you could just go back and forth between solutions was so much faster in the classical interface. So that's a kind of a poor user experience more than anything. And also, we've seen this with on Power Pages side as well. I argue with Power Pages, what you get through Power Pages Design Studio is half of the capabilities that you get with Power Pages as a product. The other half is still hidden in the Power Pages management app, the model driven app. And it bugs the peep out of me because it has so many more great capabilities that you can't see. For instance, the multilingual capabilities of Power Pages and the content snippet returns. It's just a simple example at the top of my head. And now we have had meetings with Microsoft where we say, well, we're kind of working towards getting rid of that model-driven app. And you and I go,
no,
good luck. And
yeah,
no way,
yeah.
no way. We're going to make such... we're gonna cry so loud if they
Or
try to do that.
if they're up for the challenge to make it so we can do everything in just as easy as we can, then great. But until you can, I don't.
Yeah.
I've worked for that thing for 10 years. I know there are corners in there to configure certain things that
Mm-hmm.
you I don't even know. Anyways, but
But that is also the 1%. And so maybe that's how they can do this, right? Because they turn it off and no one knows. And no one's the wiser today, right? So the product is poor for it. If they turned off the management app today, I think few people that work with Power Pages on a top level kind of thing would even notice. It's just us that work with the advanced stuff and the developer stuff that's been with the product for a while that knows about this anyways. And so I think that's kind of how they get away with it. But we'll see. It's for a future episode. We'll keep an eye out,
yeah.
and we'll make a revolution if they try to do something. Let's put it like that.
Now, the last thing on community content, you put this link in here, and this is from Anna
Oh
Black.
yeah, almost forgot. I scrolled right through it. Anna Black, she's on a roll. I
Yes.
really like her content, and this is such a cool thing. So the blog post is handy Microsoft Edge add-ons for developing with the Power Platform solutions. She made a list of 20 tools and add-ons you can have in your browser that will make it easier to work with Power Platform. So for instance, we know Level Up, right? The God mode,
course, yes.
extension
God,
that everyone has. She mentioned something called the 365 side panel, got dibs, toolbox, clear portal cache.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I know,
That's
me
cool.
neither. It's so cool that we learn new stuff about Power Pages.
Yes.
And color pickers kind of outside of Dataverse and outside of Power Apps. So if you're looking to kind of be more efficient and expand your toolbox, yeah, check out that blog post from Anna.
Yep, absolutely. I'm going to be going nuts on the Google Store later to install like most of these. Some of them I'm aware of, a lot of them I wasn't, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool.
I know.
All right,
so we're a bit on time. Let's just also mention Nicholas Hayduke's 10-year celebration of engineered code. We'll put links in the show notes to our interviews with him.
Yep.
that he posted this week. And what's next?
What is next is Dynamics Minds. So like I said, I'm on my way to Dynamics Minds. I'm involved across 4 different sessions. Now, by the time this gets published, Dynamics Minds will be wrapping up. So I can say now, the Power Platform Mythbusters. I have Julie Yak, I have Yannick Riekmans, I have Andrew Bibby, I have Eric Sauve. They have signed up, and they're not quite sure what's going to be the format. And the format is, and Victor Dantes is helping me out on this as well as putting this together. There is a show in Canada, a radio show called The Debaters. Now, of course, we all know Mythbusters, but I'm kind of not going to the Mythbusters route per se. I'm using this show format called The Debaters, where you need to get 2 people and you give them a topic, and one has to debate for the topic. The other one has to debate against the topic. So they're given 2 minutes to make their pitch. They're giving another minute to refute what the other debater has said. And then they have a final round where they can give their closing arguments.
Oh, that's so cool.
And then the audience gets to vote on the topics such as unmanaged versus managed solutions.
No.
SharePoint versus Dataverse as a data source.
Easy.
Well, that's easy for us, but can you imagine if you were told that I say, no, you have to argue for SharePoint lists as a data source?
No. Oh, give that to Yannick, please.
Okay. Well, that's the other thing. We're going to let Copilot decide some of these things.
Oh, this is awesome. I can't wait to see that.
And then, so basically, the crowd will vote who wins each round. And then, so the 2 finalists will get to face off. And then who will be, of course, the ultimate mythbuster on this. But I think it's good when we start arguing, we discuss these things in a short, compressed time span. I mean, it's great for the audience. They're going to get a lot of information out that, and a lot of things to think about. So it is a valuable session, but it is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to tell everybody at the next episode how that all went.
Oh yeah.
It's
not going to be recorded, is it?
I don't believe so. No.
Oh.
So.
Missed it then.
Maybe I'll set up a phone in the corner with the recording going just to see how the chaos ensues. But there's that plus a couple other sessions following that this Saturday. So actually, if you're going to be in the Netherlands on Saturday, there's Collab Days NL. I'm doing a session, Ultimate Intro to Power Pages. Again, so if you missed it in Denver, check it out at Collab Days NL. And then following that, Resco.next. Like I said, I have the podcast episode with Lisa Crosby. It's not Boost, it's not up, it's a special one-time thing. We will probably post it on the Boost channel. And then after that, we have a joint session at European Power Platform Conference, which I think we should work on at some point to figure that out. And have another session there as well. You have a session there on ALM, I think?
And no, I think it's a styling one.
Oh, the styling one?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I have another one on Copilots, which I'll have to put together. And then, I'm speaking at Power Platform Community Conference in Vegas. I'm also have a session at Nordic Summit. And we're doing a podcast at Scottish Summit.
Yeah, live podcast recording at Scottish. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then conference season is kind of over, so we're looking at kind of conference season now expanding. Now it's almost the whole year around with all of these conferences, and especially this time it's just every week, and that's why you're here for. I'm
here for 4 weeks because there's 4 events all kind of glued together, plus some training and other stuff, and also taking in a little bit of European culture. I'm going to be in Prague next weekend, the weekend after. That's going to be just for fun, kind of by myself touring around. But yeah.
Nothing beats the European spring, summertime.
Yeah. Cool.
Right. Okay, guys. This was a lot of news and updates, and I hope you really appreciated all the new crazy stuff from Build. And we want to hear from you what you think. And if you have any input on the big platform debate, the pipeline debate, just let us know, because we want to hear your voice as well. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you in a couple of weeks.
All right. See ya.
Thanks for listening. And if you like this episode, please make sure to share it with your friends and colleagues in the community. Make sure to leave a rating and review of your favorite streaming service, and makes it easier for others to find us. Follow us on the social media platforms and make sure you don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening to the Power Platform Boost podcast with your hosts Ulrika Åkerbeck and Nick Dolman, and see you next time for your timely boost of Power Platform news.